We now have one of the best Macs to ever exist, light, powerful and silent, but it seems like 2023 MacBooks will be even better. More features, more power, more sizes. More MacBooks! Timmy Cooks, more MacBooks. So let's look at everything we know so far about the upcoming MacBooks of 2023. First things first, new products in the lineup. Current family of products is already very diverse. M1 MacBook Air, M2 MacBook Air, 13-inch M2 MacBook Pro, 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. There is a lot of options to choose from, but the M2 MacBook may be getting a bigger brother, the 15-inch MacBook Air. These leaks are a few months old now, and there has been less and less talks about this machine in the past months, so we should take these rumors with a grain of salt. So, what do we know? The new laptop will get the same design as the existing M2 MacBook Air, that's for sure, flat sides and rounded edges exactly as we like it. The display size should increase to 15.2 inches, which, if you ask me, is the golden mean of sizes, big enough to do some serious work, watch movies and not feel constrained by a small display size. The chip will be the same, the M2. Before the M2 Air got released, there were rumors that this 15 Air was going to receive the M2 Pro option, but I personally don't think this is gonna happen. Apple doesn't need a competitor to the 14 and 16-inch Pro MacBook, so the M2 it is. It's unclear whether Apple will give this bigger MacBook an 8-core GPU version or leave only a higher tier 10-core GPU, but let's hope for the best. The base storage will for sure stay the same, no need for leaks to understand that. So basically it will be the M2 MacBook Air, but bigger. I'm not sure how good it will look if the speaker layout stays the same with speakers near the hinge. Will we get an empty space on the left and right sides of the keyboard? Only time will tell. Its release date is rumored to be somewhere in the 2023, according to Mark Gurman. Quo indicates the production to start in the first half of 2023, with the launch in the second quarter. When it comes to prices, we can only make guesses. No leaker has said anything about the price, but we can assume the price ourselves, judging by the current prices. So, the M2 Air starts at $1,200, 13-inch M2 Pro is $1,300, and 14-inch Pro is $2,000. I think the price would be somewhere around $1,500 to $1,600. The next thing is only my thoughts, but I think the M1 MacBook Air will either be discontinued or made cheaper. At $999, it's still a good deal in 2022, but for 2023, not so much. Dumping it would mean they need to lower prices for the M2 Air by $200 to match it, but I'm pretty sure it won't happen. Here's what I think. The M1 Air will become $899 and the M2 Air will become $1,099. This will leave enough headroom for the 15-inch Air, creating even healthier differentiation between products. Again, only my predictions, not yet confirmed. I don't know whether Apple will shock us with something extra next year, but I'm sure that you can already make your MacBook extra right now. Tell me, don't you get tired of all those emails you get every day? Promotional offers, spam, phishing attacks. Yikes! It's easy to lose important emails in all that mess. Luckily, with Canary Mail, you can filter all that out, leaving only what matters. This app is perfect for easy email management for those who get way too many emails, and this app can be easily downloaded for free if you have a setup subscription, the sponsor of today's video. In addition to this app, you get access to many more iOS apps, as well as 230 plus AnyTask apps at a reasonable price in one place. This is the primary advantage of this setup. Another great app for you is Mosaic. Window management has always been a weak side of macOS, so having a tool that helps you manage windows and open them in a convenient split view mode is very useful. Personally, I need many windows on my screen at once, so Mosaic helps me out a lot. You can get this app and a ton of others with a setup subscription, and now it's probably the best time to get it. Setup is launching a special holiday offer. For a limited time only, you can get the Pro's Essentials Pack, which unlocks unique plans not only to Setup, but also to 1Password and Masterclass, to help you stay productive, proactive, and protected. This limited time offer is available only from December 13th, 2022 to January 2nd, 2023. So click the link in the description to learn more about this offer. But the most interesting update of the year will for sure be the new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. Until less than a month ago, the updated 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro models were expected to be revealed in late 2022. Then, Mark Gurman in an October newsletter wrote that the new MacBook Pro probably won't launch until early next year. Then, during Apple's quarterly earnings call, Tim Cook called the product line set for this holiday season. So yeah, the launch date is expected to be somewhere around March, which lines up with the iOS 16.3 update. But what do we know for sure? The design will remain the same. Apple is notorious for using the same design for years, and it has been a little over a year after the release of 14 and 16-inch Pro models in this new design. So the basic hardware will remain identical. New models will have the same 14.2 and 16.2 mini LED displays with ProMotion and a notch, 1080p webcam, a Magic Keyboard, spacious trackpad, and a 6-speaker sound system. Visually, you won't be able to say which model is new. The I/O will also remain the same: 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an HDMI port, an SD card slot, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and lastly, MagSafe 3 connector for fast charging. But what about the specs? According to leaks Apple Pro, the performance gains will be worth the wait: better speed, better battery life, and less heat. It's clear as day that new Macs will be equipped with M2 Pro and M2 Max chips, and that's where it gets really interesting. Recently, the benchmark scores for the M2 Max have been leaked. The new chip has 12 cores and the base frequency of 3.54 GHz. The testing rig also has 96 gigs of RAM, which hints at the maximum memory config in new MacBooks, but this leak is very strange. Alleged M2 Max scores 1800 single-core and 13,800 multi-core. Comparatively, the M1 Max earned a single-core score of 1700 and a multi-core score of 12,700. The gain we see is only 7% in single-core and about 8% in multi-core. The next leaked test score for the M2 Max gave us 2,000 single-core and almost 15,000 multi-core at higher 3.68 GHz frequency. This equals roughly to the 17% improvement in single-core and 16% in multi-core when compared to the M1 Max. Apple is clearly still testing things out, trying to squeeze as much power as possible from these chips, but I think you see that this difference is laughable. So what does that tell us? First, the M2 Pro chips won't be 3nm chips. M2 is still a 5nm chip, so the M2 Pro and Max chips will likely be the same. Second, core layout. The M2 chip found in MacBook Pro and Air has 4 high-performance and 4 high-efficiency cores. This M2 Max is supposed to have 12 cores, so judging by the Geekbench score, we can roughly estimate the layout. Judging by the leaked scores, this chip has 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. This is almost the same layout as in M1 Max. This chip has 8 performance cores and 2 efficiency cores, a total of 10 cores. So these 2 efficiency cores aren't making a whole lot in this case. These CPU gains remind me of the M2 chip. It also was about 18% faster than the M1 in CPU tests, while being up to 35% faster in GPU tests. Maybe the same situation will happen here. According to some rumors, M2 Max may feature a 40-core GPU, which is 8 cores better than the current 32-core GPU. Paired with higher clock speeds, this may really give us that 30% GPU boost as we had in the M2 chip. As for the M2 Pro chip, there have been no leaks regarding it, but we can make our own predictions on what we might get. I think that Apple will leave the M2 Pro with the same 10 cores as before, just to make some separation between the Max and Pro chips. But the GPU cores count will jump to probably 20 cores or so, 4 cores more than we have now. Also, I think we can expect higher bandwidth speed and faster memory. The current MacBook Pros use LPDDR5 RAM, which can deliver bandwidth of up to 200 GBs per second on the M1 Pro and 400 GB per second at peak on the M1 Max. But according to Mac rumors, the next 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros could use LPDDR5X RAM that could deliver up to a 33% boost in bandwidth. I can't say that the expected gains are astronomical or fantastic, but this would be a healthy generational leap. Okay, now, when we are done with rumors, it's time to answer the question: what do we want from the upcoming MacBooks? I would personally like a bigger size of base storage. It's probably gonna remain 512 gigabytes, but upping that to 1 terabyte would be a smart move. Base unified memory is probably gonna remain the same at 16 gigabytes, but I would like it to start at 24 gigabytes. That would make a total sense and make new models seem better than previous ones. Another thing I really wanna see is changes to that notch. I have 3 theories on that. First, it will get smaller. I don't think the notch really has to be this big in order to host a camera, so it probably can become smaller. My second theory is less likely: Face ID. It seems like a year and a half after the initial notched design was revealed is enough time to make this move. I know that Face ID is a very complex system that consists of a bunch of sensors that aren't particularly thin, but something must be done to that notch. The final, even less likely change is the dynamic island. If new MacBooks are not gonna receive Face ID, adding the dynamic island may be a smart move. Just a tiny hole for the camera and nothing more. Another thing I would appreciate is higher brightness. The existing screen is already very bright, but adding a couple hundred nits of brightness won't hurt, right? Currently, it sits at 500 nits, and there for sure must be an option to up it all the way to 600 nits. I'm sure it can be even done through software. Remember the pre-M1 MacBook Air? It was initially released with 300 nits, but the software update brought that value to 400 nits. Maybe the same thing can be done for the new MacBook Pros without changing the panels. But all those rumors bring us to one question: should you buy existing Macs in the beginning of 2023? I think yes, because you never know what Apple might show, and existing Macs are very, very good. The M2 Air won't be updated for at least a year from now, and the M1 Air will likely to stay in the lineup. The existing 14 and 16-inch Pros might be replaced with better M2 powered models, but they will still be not too far behind. So if you want to buy a Mac right now, look for deals on Amazon or from other sellers. Maybe get a refurbished one, I don't know, but don't wait. The presentation of new Macs might be delayed for as long as Apple wants, and you don't want to be trapped in that waiting cycle. But summing up everything I said, 2023 will be a great year for MacBooks. Great laptops will become even better.